Hi, let's keep completing the square, but this time with negative coefficients. Let's go. This time I have an algebraic expression with a minus sign, let's say minus 8x. I will add something to it and then it will become the square of something. Now, the way to visualize this. Since I start with x squared, I start with a square. And since I subtract 8x, I'm thinking of a smaller square. Since I'm subtracting something, in order to visualize it, I make a smaller square. By this way, I start with x squared, subtract something. Now something else happens here. We'll see what happens here. And then I'll arrive at another square. Well, this is the square that I will arrive, and this is the square that I start with, meaning that's x squared. One side is x, okay, and the area of the square is x squared. So what's this 8x that we are subtracting here? Just like in the previous video, this comes from two rectangles, but now the rectangles are a little different. Now, pay very attention to this part. Now this 8x, half of it comes from this rectangle and half of it comes from this rectangle. If you ask why, and if you wonder how do I know this? I know this from the identity of square of difference, which I strongly recommend you to study. Okay, let's go on. I will subtract these rectangles and then something's going to happen here, and then I'll arrive at a smaller square, which is this one. Okay, I have my x squared. Now I subtract my 8x. This is shared by two rectangles. Now, since the side length of the square is x, now, since this 8x is shared by two rectangles, the area of one rectangle makes 4x. So this means the shorter side of the rectangle has to be 4 and this has to be 4. So the side length of the small square is going to be 4. And the area here is 16 square of 4. And the whole area of these rectangles is 4x. Okay, so what about the area of this small square? Since I subtract 4 from x, it can be written as x minus 4, and the area is the square of x minus 4. So that's where I'm going to arrive. Let's write it down. Okay, great. So, again, I have the big square. I subtract 8x. How I do that? Okay, 4x from here, 4x from here. Now I subtract 8x. But wait, I can sense that you already realized the mistake. If I subtract these two rectangles, I subtract this part twice. So in order to make the equation right, just to subtract these green parts and nothing else, I will add one back. That means I will add one of these squares back in order to make the equation right, right? I subtracted two squares, but I will put one back and the equation will be right. So the area of that square is 16, so I put it back and the equation becomes true. Okay. Now let's do the same example, but this time with odd and negative integer coefficient. What do I mean by this is, let's make it minus 5x. I will add something and it will become the square of something else. So here is my setup. I have my square. Now I have a smaller square. Since I subtract something, I'm visualizing it as a smaller square. Okay. Now this 5x comes from these rectangles, right? Okay. So the area of one rectangle is going to be 5x over 2. Well, since this side length is x, this has to be 5 over 2. And this side length is 5 over 2. So the area of this small square is square of 5 over 2, and this makes 25 over 4. Now, from the previous example, I already now know that this is 5x over 2 and this is 5x over 2. Okay, you know, when I add them up, I get 10x over 2, which equals to 5x when simplified, and that's this part. Great. Actually, let's color it green in order to show what I'm subtracting, okay? So I will subtract this part and then arrive at the smaller square. So let's find the area of the smaller square. Well, this part is x minus 5 over 2. So it's going to be square of x minus 5 over 2. So that's where I'm arriving. Great. Okay, but I subtracted this part twice. I will put one back and then make the equation right. Well, that's 25 over 4. Okay, so this is basically completing the square with negative coefficients. So that's the way to visualize completing the square. In the next video, we'll go deep into completing the square, do some algebraic stuff, and then eventually we'll arrive at the proof of the quadratic formula and many other great things. See you in the next video. Bye bye.